Yo, what is going on, everyone? Tay here. And today I got just a bit of a shorter video for you guys on a new exclusive that just dropped and revealed some really big plot details for the upcoming VisionQuest series and how Ultron will fit into the show and how the show will reportedly tie into Avengers Age of Ultron, possibly the future of the Young Avengers, some Wonder Man connections, and also some pretty big ties to Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. Now, what we know about VisionQuest so far is that the show is largely going to revolve around the White Vision as he tries to regain his memories after the original Vision set him free at the end of WandaVision. And what Paul Bettany has said is that in this show, the White Vision will have access to all of the Red Vision's past memories, the original Vision, but that he will feel disconnected to those memories as if they happened to someone else. And that the show is also going to delve into some complex father and son relationship issues, which was likely a reference to how the series will introduce Tommy Shepard and how Tommy and Vision will struggle to get to know one another. And besides Ultron, we know that the show will also be introducing Tania Miller as Jocasta. And then it was also recently reported that besides Ultron, VisionQuest will also be bringing back several past Iron Man characters, including James Darcy as the human Jarvis, and Raza of the Ten Rings from the first Iron Man movie, as well as some version of both Edith and Friday, who I believe we will also be seeing in their human forms, or digital human forms, or something like that. And I remember a few months ago when some of the initial reports about VisionQuest first started coming out, we also heard reports that in the show we will see the introduction of Vision's synthezoid children, Viv and Vin, from Tom King's Vision comic run. And based on all of these different comments from both the showrunner and Paul Bettany, I think how a lot of these characters like Viv and Vin and Edith and Friday and even Jarvis, I think how a lot of them will fit into the show will actually be in a digital form inside of Vision's mind as he is trying to piece together his past memories by kind of creating this imaginary world for him to live in with his own digital family. But that once Tommy enters the picture, this will kind of force Vision to come back and live in the real world to deal with this new reality of being a real father to a real person instead of just being an imaginary father with his, digital family inside his mind. And it sounds like this concept is also likely going to tie into how Ultron will return as well. That when Vision starts to piece together his past memories and starts to mess with his own programming, that part of those memories will obviously include the memories of Ultron, and that this will somehow recreate Ultron and set him loose in the real world to wreak havoc, kind of like he did in Avengers Age of Ultron. And based on this new exclusive that just dropped, it says that Ultron's bigger plan in the show will be to eventually merge his consciousness with the consciousness and programming of both Jocasta and Vision to basically create a unified superintelligence, and that a big part of the final battle will actually occur digitally with Ultron, Jocasta, and Vision battling across multiple global networks, and that in the end, Jocasta will sacrifice herself to destroy Ultron because of her love for Vision. And if this new exclusive is accurate on the plot details and how things will play out in the show, then it sounds like Vision might actually end up being the one who creates Jocasta instead of Ultron like it was in the comics, and that she could potentially take on a similar role to Virginia from Tom King's Vision run, kind of taking that place as Vision's digital wife and the mother to Viv and Vin, who then actually gets created due to everything Vision is doing with his programming, similar to how Ultron will come back. And there was one other interesting detail that was also mentioned in this exclusive on how the show will apparently tie into the Wonder Man series and have this Wonder Man connection that kind of goes back to the Wonder Man and Vision connection in the comics. And what it says is that basically during VisionQuest, at some point in VisionQuest, we will see some kind of sword Easter egg that reveals that Simon Williams, Wonder Man, was the one who donated his brainwave patterns to Sword, and that Sword then somehow used these brainwave patterns when they were rebuilding the White Vision. And that really wouldn't be too shocking because this is actually basically what happened when Vision was originally created in the comics, which led to Vision and Wonder Man having this brotherly relationship due to them being so alike. So I will be interested to see if this detail is true, because if it is, then it likely means that Marvel Studios will have some kind of plans to do some kind of crossover with Vision and Wonder Man and possibly the Scarlet Witch in the future, which could tie into some of the different reports we've heard about Marvel Studios having plans for some kind of West Coast Avengers type storyline in the next saga in Phase 7. Because remember, there were actually a few different Wonder Man Easter eggs back in WandaVision. There were 2, and I think it was the opening credits for Episode 2, where we saw the Wonder Oats Easter egg in the grocery store, and then in that same opening credits, we also saw the Grim Reaper's helmet in between like the floorboards or something, and Grim Reaper in the comics is Wonder Man's brother. And then we also saw Wonder Man concept art or comic book art in one of the WandaVision's behind-the-scenes videos, which could mean that Marvel Studios may have originally had plans to include Simon Williams in some way in the WandaVision show, or at the very least, we're already planting seeds for the possible Wonder Man, Vision, and Scarlet Witch connection that they were planning out for the future. So yeah, presuming that Elizabeth Olsen will stick around to play Wanda in the MCU after the multiverse saga is over, once we get into Phase 7, it's possible that Marvel Studios are even planting the seeds for some kind of Wanda-Simon Williams romance for Wonder Man to kind of become her new romantic interest instead of the White Vision, who may no longer really care about Wanda in that way because he's a different version of Vision. And speaking of the Scarlet Witch, now let's talk about some of the reports we've heard regarding Marvel's big plans for the VisionQuest finale. Because back at New York Comic Con 2 weeks ago, the VisionQuest showrunner Terry Matalas made some pretty revealing comments about how the final episode of VisionQuest is going to be this really big finale, and that for him, it was like making a personal Marvel dream come true. And those comments definitely caught my attention because I can't help but wonder if this could also tie into some of the leaks and reports that dropped earlier this month from, I think it was comicbook.com. Because what those reports said is that according to their sources, the VisionQuest finale is going to be quite large and will have this big cliffhanger ending that will connect directly to Avengers Doomsday, and that Marvel Studios actually filmed at least 3 different versions of this ending in order to avoid spoilers coming out. And while it might not seem like VisionQuest would be a show that would have very many connections to Avengers Doomsday or would be very important in setting up any plot elements for Avengers Doomsday, one thing you have to remember is that the VisionQuest show is actually scheduled to come out in late 2026, which means that it will almost certainly be the very last MCU project to come out before Avengers Doomsday. And since it's coming out in late 2026, it'll likely be coming out just before Doomsday, within a month or so. So yeah, with Marvel Studios wanting to build that hype for Avengers Doomsday, it does make sense that they would include plot elements in that show to help set the stage and get everyone excited for what's about to come in that movie. And according to these new reports and what they said they heard, the VisionQuest finale will include the return of both Billy Kaplan and Agatha Harkness, and that we will finally see Billy reuniting with Tommy and Vision, and perhaps even helping out in the final battle against Ultron. And I think it's worth pointing out that both Joe Locke and Marvel Studios have basically already confirmed that Joe Locke will be in the VisionQuest series, because Marvel Studios have seemingly allowed him to post pictures with the actor who is playing Tommy. I cannot pronounce his name, but they've posted pictures together with what appears to be a script doing rehearsals. So yeah, it basically looks like a for sure thing that we will see the return of Billy Kaplan and most likely Agatha Harkness in the VisionQuest show. And they said that what they heard regarding this big cliffhanger plot twist ending is that at the very end of the VisionQuest finale, we will see this whole team, Vision, Tommy, Billy, and Agatha, discovering that Wanda Maximoff is actually alive, and that this will be what sets up Elizabeth Olsen's return for Avengers Doomsday or Avengers Secret Wars. But what's more is that they also added that one of the other things they've heard is that it could be either hinted at or straight up revealed that where Wanda has been since the end of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is with Doctor Doom. And that Doctor Doom was the one who saved Wanda from the Darkhold Castle falling on her when we saw that red flash of light. And, if this is true, then it obviously has some really big implications for what this could mean for the plots of both Doomsday and Secret Wars. Because, of course, this would go back to some of the earliest Doomsday scoops that we started hearing last year, which said that in Avengers Doomsday, it will be revealed that Wanda is working with Doctor Doom and that Avengers Doomsday will adapt certain plot elements from the Avengers Children's Crusade comic run. And, I don't want to go super deep into talking about this again because I have talked about, Wanda's role in Avengers Doomsday several times. But if it turns out that this is what the Russo brothers have planned for Wanda, then that still doesn't reveal exactly how it will happen or what the specific details will be. For instance, one question I would have is, has Wanda been awake this whole time, just chilling with Doctor Doom in a different universe? Or could she perhaps be asleep, being held in some kind of stasis? And does she remember what happened? Does she have all of her memories? Or will she perhaps have amnesia like she did in the Children's Crusade comic? And look, I know in recent videos, we've talked about these different scoops that have come out recently about a variant of Wanda having a big role in Avengers Doomsday, and this version of Wanda being from the X-Men universe and a daughter of Magneto. And again, I don't want to go deep down the rabbit hole on all that again, but if these new reports we are hearing about the VisionQuest finale setting up the 616 Wanda to return with Doctor Doom in Avengers Doomsday or Avengers Secret Wars are true, then I do think it's important to note that that would not discount these other scoops we've heard about the X-Men Wanda variant. Because, of course, we could see Elizabeth Olsen playing both versions of that character in one movie, playing two different versions of Wanda. Or perhaps we could just see the X-Men variants of Wanda in Avengers Doomsday, and then Marvel Studios and the Russo brothers could save the return for the 616 Wanda for Avengers Secret Wars, or any other combination in between that. So yeah, since the whole Wanda thing came up again, I just thought that was important to note as well. But anyways, I think we can start wrapping it up for this one because I do want to keep this video a bit shorter because I'm trying my best to put out some shorter videos as hard as it is. But before we go, I do have a handful of generous super thanks questions to respond to from the last few videos. So why don't we get into those? And as always, we have 2 from my guy Gator Chris. And then we also have a very generous 5 from Dennis Chadwick. And then another 5 from Nick Standridge 528. And this one says, "Hey Tay, your vids are always the best. And is it just me, or should Marvel Studios have made a short miniseries of Cap actually returning all of the stones? In my mind, that would have built up to Doomsday. What do you think?" And yeah, I totally agree, man. I think that that is what Marvel Studios were originally thinking about doing, or, may have had plans for, because we have heard all of these reports for the last few years that they were working on a Chris Evans-led Nomad series, which would have revolved around Chris Evans returning the stones, likely so they could tie it in to their plans for Chris Evans to return as Steve Rogers in these upcoming Avengers films. And for whatever reason, it seems like that didn't work out. But yeah, in a perfect world, I do agree that it would have been nice if we would have seen a Chris Evans miniseries, or just like a one-season show showing that story. And there's definitely several MCU shows that have come out over the past few years that I would have been fine with them switching that out with. So yeah, thank you very much for that, Nick. Much appreciated. Then the next one we have is 10 from my dude, Jeffrey. And this one says, Tay, my bro, I have missed you, man. This video is sick. Just what I've been waiting for. I went to LAV and SFO for my birthday last month. Flew over Utah and I thought of you. We gotta link up next time I'm stateside on the West Coast, man. Keep up the good work, man, and I'm sorry I haven't been in touch recently. Stay super. Jeffrey, I know. What the hell, dude? You're in the United States and you didn't hit me up. You totally should. Yeah, if you ever come to Utah, dude, I'd be totally down. You can come out here and hunt skinwalkers and UFOs with me. We can go and see what we see. Maybe you'll see some stuff. Or, if I'm ever in the UK, you can take me out to hunt for crop circles or something. But yeah, I'm glad you're good. I hope you had a good birthday. It's crazy. Actually, the day I'm posting this is actually my birthday as well. So it looks like we both have October birthdays. So yeah, I hope you had a good birthday, dude. I definitely had a pretty interesting birthday event myself, going out to a psychedelic retreat center near Skinwalker Ranch. Maybe I will talk about that in my next video where we get into some of the paranormal stuff. But it was pretty cool. So yeah, maybe I'll dig into that. But yeah, thank you very much, Jeffrey. Happy birthday, dude. And yeah, honestly, anytime. If you're in the States, if you come back again and you want to come out to Skinwalker Country in Utah, I'm more than down to hang out. And then the next comment we have is 20 from Aaron. And this one says, Hey, Tay, here were my questions from before. Are we just going to assume that Brie Larson is going to come back as Captain Marvel? Her last movie bombed. The Marvel fandom doesn't like her, and her character so far hasn't been appealing in the MCU. To be fair, I feel like her character has been handled with kid gloves, but I feel like outside her obvious connection to Monica Rambeau, there's really not a whole lot of excitement for her character. Remember, she was not listed as a part of the chair announcement for Doomsday. What do you think about the whole situation? Does Brie Larson still have a future in the MCU? And then also, what do you think about recasting characters in the MCU? Historically, they haven't had to do it because most of the major characters have been played by one actor for so long. They don't have the same history of recasting as DC does, and as much as the fans want to see the characters, I think it is a challenge to see other actors play those roles. It is inevitable, but not easy to do, and I think it's understandable for Marvel to be hesitant about doing that. What do you think? Thanks, and keep up the great work. Aaron. All right, good questions, dude. As far as Brie Larson, Captain Marvel, yes, she wasn't included in the chairs announcement, and I know there was some kind of, BS rumors going around that Marvel Studios have decided to get rid of her and not even include her in the upcoming Avengers movies. But I don't think that's true. I think she will be in the upcoming Avengers movies, especially because an important plot point in Avengers Doomsday will tie back to the post-credit scene of the Marvels, and with Monica Rambeau being stuck in the X-Men universe, I think that Carol Danvers will be kind of an important character to make that connection. But I do think you're right in that she probably won't have a huge role in the upcoming Avengers films, but that they will include her. However, like I actually mentioned in my last video, I wouldn't be surprised if these are the last times we see Brie Larson as Carol Danvers in the MCU, because after the Marvels movie did so horribly at the box office, and with there really not being a whole bunch of excitement for her character, I agree, I'm not sure if Marvel Studios are really that interested in carrying on a future with her. So yeah, I do think we'll see her in the upcoming Avengers films. I doubt she'll have a ton of screen time compared to the other characters at least, but I do think that she will have an important role to fill in making that connection from the Marvels post-credit scene and everything that'll be happening with Monica Rambeau. And then as far as recasting characters go, I do think that Marvel Studios will eventually recast some characters, but I don't think it'll be right away. I know a lot of people are like, oh, they're going to recast Tony Stark in Phase 7. I don't think they'll do that. I think they'll wait a while before they do something like that. But I mean, honestly, we could be looking at a whole new future for what Marvel Studios are going to do with their movies within the next 10, maybe even 5 years because of AI. I mean, it's a harsh, depressing reality, that no matter what we do, AI is going to completely change the way movies and TV shows in Hollywood functions. And even though the majority of actors we've seen speak out about it are against it, I think it's only a matter of time that we could just see these movie studios licensing out different actors to play those characters in perpetuity going into the future. So, for example, take Robert Downey Jr. What if Robert Downey Jr. agreed to make a deal for millions of dollars with Disney for a licensing agreement to where they could use AI depictions of Tony Stark in Marvel movies going forward into the future without Robert Downey Jr. even having to set foot on set? You know, maybe they would get him to do some voiceover work or come in for a bit of mocap so it's not just completely 100% AI animation. But I'm telling you, stuff like that is coming. I don't know how it'll work. I don't know what kind of pushback there will be from audiences and from actors. I'm sure there will be a lot, but stuff like that is coming. So as far as I know, the whole idea of recasting characters within the next 10 years could completely go away. And I hate it. I think it's scary and depressing and the death of art in so many ways outside of everything to do with acting and movies. I feel like it's going to infect every part of our society in so many dystopian ways that if I keep going on, I'm just going to go on a rant about how grim the future looks and how soulless it looks. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it. Who knows what'll happen, but I don't think they're going to recast any characters right away after Avengers Secret Wars. That was my bigger point, I guess. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But I do think things are changing. So yeah, thank you very much for that, Aaron. I know we had a mishap and I missed one of your super thanks last month because of whatever happened. So I appreciate you coming back and leaving a generous $20 with the question. And I'm glad I saw it this time. So yeah, thanks, dude. And then the last one we have is 10 from Simmersy245. And this one actually ties directly into everything we've been talking about in this video. And this one says, thanks once again, Culty. I have a theory I'd love your opinion on based off of what I've asked in the past. I think we won't actually see the 616 Wanda in Doomsday. Sure, we could get an X-Men universe Wanda, but not our Wanda. My personal theory is that our Wanda will instead be resurrected by Doctor Doom in his new universe to serve as either a power source or a weapon for him to maintain control. And as a part of using the comic material, I think based off of the upcoming VisionQuest series, that Billy, along with Ghost Agatha's help, will be able to protect both himself and his brother Tommy during the transition to the new universe. That then leaves room for the Children's Crusade storyline to be used and would allow for Wanda to get her redemption story arc moment and reunite the Maximoffs with their mother and then get the big moment on the big screen. I'd love to hear your thoughts on if this is possible or likely. All right, so, I don't have a ton left to say on this because I've already kind of talked about a lot of what you're bringing up just coincidentally in this video. But yeah, I have talked about this same thing in the past where there is several different ways where I could see the Russo brothers bringing back Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda, and that obviously one of those ways includes them bringing back a variant of Wanda from the X-Men universe for Avengers Doomsday. But I have said that if that's what they do, then I think that they will still plan on bringing back the 616 version of Wanda for Avengers Secret Wars. And that if Tommy and Billy are in the Secret Wars movie, like we saw in that concept art that dropped a few months ago, that I do think there is a good chance that there could be elements of the Children's Crusade storyline adapted into their character subplots for Secret Wars, to where if we see a situation where Wanda has amnesia or something like that in the Secret Wars movie because of what has been happening to her with Doctor Doom, that I could see Billy and Tommy being the characters to snap her out of that like they did in the Children's Crusade comic run, to where she could then go on to help defeat Doctor Doom and probably help in recreating the multiverse, probably with Franklin Richards, similar to how Franklin Reed and Molecule Man recreated the multiverse at the end of the Secret Wars comics. In fact, a couple of months ago, back in July, a different actor, Steven Sater, who I guess was recently working with Joe Locke, accidentally let it slip in an interview that he wasn't currently working with Joe Locke on whatever project they were working on because Joe Locke was busy filming on what was reportedly Avengers Doomsday. So even besides that concept art, it does look like there is other evidence that Billy and most likely Tommy will be in either Doomsday or Secret Wars or both, which in my opinion definitely does give more credence to the theory that Wanda will have a very big important role in those films, because frankly, if Wanda wasn't in those movies, then frankly I really doubt that we would see Billy or Tommy in them, because with how many characters are involved, I just don't think the Russo brothers would include Billy and Tommy unless it was somehow tying into Wanda's bigger story arc. So yeah, I'm not like fully decided either way on exactly what the Russo brothers are going to do with Wanda in the upcoming Avengers movies, but I do think that this theory makes a lot of sense and I could totally see that happening. So yeah, I definitely think you could be right on this one, but we'll just have to wait and see. So yeah, thank you very much for that, Simmer C, and thank you very much to all the rest of you for leaving those super thanks questions. And if you are watching this and you would like to leave a super thanks with a question or a comment or theory on this video, remember those are greatly, hugely appreciated and do help out a lot, and that I will be getting to those very soon after we have a few to respond to. So yeah, on that note, let's wrap this thing up. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. And of course, if you are new to the channel and a fan of Marvel and the MCU and nerdy stuff like that, please subscribe to the channel. And also remember that leaving a like, sharing the video, or leaving some hype points all greatly help out very much in the ongoing battle against the algorithm beast that is YouTube. So yeah, like, subscribe, share, all that stuff. Check out the last video all on Avengers Doomsday if you missed it. It's a good one. And also come follow the channel on Twitter for updates over there. You can hit me up with any questions, comments, or just say what's up. And yeah, I will be back very soon talking about some paranormal stuff that I am very excited about for the Halloween video. So yes, I really hope you guys watch that one. I think it'll be a fun change of pace where we can go down the rabbit hole on something a little different in light of the spooky holidays.